Hey guys, my name is Tyler and I'm a freelance concept designer. In today's video, I'm going to be taking you through my process for designing this Tau Fire Warrior casualty evacuation scene, and I want to take you through step by step how I did it. Okay, with a time lapse, I'm going to be commentating over the top of it. So let's jump straight into it. If you do learn something new today and if you enjoy this content, please do subscribe and like and comment down below how you're going to use this process in your next piece. Okay, so as you can see here, I'm starting off with a mannequin, right? So I'm mannequinizing the scene. I want to have a very basic, very simple mannequin that I can build on top of. Now, to be fair, I think it's because I knew that I was recording for YouTube that I went a little bit more complex with the mannequin than I really needed to. You can go a lot simpler than this. You can really just use boxes and cylinders for mostly. You can, for the arms, you don't need any anatomical forms whatsoever. Here I'm using them probably because subconsciously I was like, okay, I'm recording for YouTube, I want to make it look good, right? But to be honest, you can just use extremely simple forms, and in my next piece that I use a mannequin, I will remember to really keep it simple and just use very simple cylinders for the arms, cylinders for the legs, maybe, and then like an egg oval shape for the sternum, and then a cylinder for the abdomen. So as you can see here, I'm actually doing a Tau mannequin, right? I could have stuck with just a full human mannequin and done human feet and then just did the hooves on top of it, but I decided, let me just mannequinize the whole thing. I put a quick sketch of the plasma rifle in there as well, but mostly here I'm resizing and I'm trying to figure out the next part, which is the guy that he's dragging, right? The guy that he's doing the casualty evacuation on. You know, when I was in the army, we used to do these kind of exercises like this. Obviously for this Tau guy, not so much of an exercise. The guy's literally lost his leg, but you know, the Tyrannies have effed this guy up pretty bad. But his officer, he's a good guy, and he is casevacing him out of here, right? He's dragging him away. He's obviously unconscious because he's lost a hell of a lot of blood, as you probably saw from the preview of the finished piece. Here I'm now going into the rough sketch straight away. So once the mannequins are done, I have that base that I can sketch on top of. I could have literally just gone straight for the rough sketch, but it would have made things so much more difficult and unnecessarily difficult, really. Because the truth is, I did the mannequins to save my brain power. Because you can see, the Tau armor is very complex. So there's a lot of complex forms going on, a lot of complex geometry, and all of this has to be believable. It has to be in perspective and believable. And having those mannequins underneath, it's really cool because I'm basically putting a costume on top of the mannequins. The mannequins allow me to have that underdrawing, so that I can save myself a lot of brain power. And here I'm going in with doing the leg armor, and the rough sketch actually didn't take that long, if I remember correctly. The whole thing in total took basically, it's a day's work. I did this in one day, and it was about 6.5 hours of work, and that's without taking breaks. That's just condensed all into one. It's 6.5 hours. Obviously I took breaks in that 6.5 hours. I'm not a maniac, well, that's debatable. But, and here I'm going in with the hands. Obviously the hardest part of any character design is the hands. The hands always F us up. They always make things more difficult. With the Tau, they only have 3 fingers and a thumb. Well, it changes. I've seen different artwork where the Tau had 4 hands and 2 fingers. It seems to change around a bit. I just went with the typical Tau. Even the blood, as you saw, I went with that purple blood, which I don't know if that's still canon in the lore, if they changed it to red. But I think the purple blood just is much nicer. It makes them seem more alien. Here I'm going in with the officer, the guy that's dragging his soldier away. And the officer I actually really enjoyed. I enjoyed showcasing the emotion in his face as he's screaming to his other soldiers, to retreat or, to cover them as he drags his buddy away. I remember that I had some difficulty here with the knee pad. I did it okay on the guy laying down. Obviously, his other knee pad is in a Tyraniid's mouth somewhere. But this knee pad here, I don't know. I just struggled with it. Maybe I was got a bit tired by the time I got to that piece. But you'll see that this is a rough sketch. You can go a lot rougher than this as well if you would like. You don't have to be this. When it's a rough sketch, it can be rougher than this. I'm somebody who just likes to get as much done as possible in the rough sketch. Some people like to do a really rough sketch, really scribbly, and then they do 80% of the work when they do the clean line drawing, and they take their time. I'm a bit more, okay, let me do 80% of the work in the rough sketch. That's why it's maybe not as rough as some people's sketches you've seen. And yeah, so I decided, I'll do most of the work in the rough sketch, and then I will figure out any other bits and pieces, which I do. The helmet of the guy who's badly wounded here, I changed that because I have a model, not with me right now, but I used to paint models, Warhammer. I have a few Tau models. I literally looked at the helmet, one of the newer Tau helmets, not the old school Tau Fire Warrior helmets, and I realized that actually it's asymmetrical. So for some reason I thought it was symmetrical, but it actually sticks out on one side. On the right side, it sticks out more than the left side, which completely caught me off guard. When I looked at the model, I was like, oh damn, the helmet's asymmetrical. But here I'm going in with the rough sketch of the mouth. This was really fun. I think that's how it looked great. I think they have a really cool design. I think they look alien enough, but they have that humanoid look where we can they're believable and we can kind of correlate with them. I love this kind of alien design. I'm not so much into that really ethereal kind of design of aliens, like the more modern sci-fi movies that have alien invasions. They go really ethereal and advanced and almost supernatural with the species that they go with. I think the last alien invasion, for me, one of my favorite alien invasion movies is Battle Los Angeles. I think it's so grounded in reality. I think it's just really, really cool. Then there is the Apple TV invasion. That was good. I think that the alien designs, they still went a little bit too ethereal, supernatural. Like, obviously they're nanobots, but so here I'm going into the final line drawing, right? So this is my final line drawing before adding color. Obviously I don't render this out completely, okay? So I keep the line work with this one, because it's a daily design, like a 1 day and not 2 or 3 days. I'm not doing any rendering. I basically just add the flat color, I add shadow, add some light and highlights, and a little bit of color variation, but mostly just light and shadow, and I keep the line work. This is a style that a lot of people use, and it isn't. I think a lot of people think that they need to render out their designs completely and get rid of all the line work. It's not necessarily the case. You don't have to do that. I know, especially if you're a concept artist or a concept designer, a lot of them, they keep their line work, because so any of you watching this, if you are a concept artist, or you're maybe aspiring to be a concept artist, then understand that in production, when you're working on a project, a lot of the time you're not going to be doing pretty pictures. You're going to be doing lots of rough sketches, and ideations, and then you might do a final line work like this and add some flat color. And that, you know, when you're really in production, a lot of the time you just line work, flat color, you know, a turnaround, and then it goes straight to the 3D and the illustrators, because the illustrators, if it's a big studio, the illustrators will be the ones making the pretty pictures from your design. If you're working in an indie studio, yeah, you might be doing concept art and illustration because of the, you know, budget restrictions within indie studios. The final line here, and actually I just saw a mistake there, but anyway, final line drawing, I went very slow. Like, it was the longest part of the process for sure, because I really took my time, slowed down, and I enjoyed the process. I really enjoyed doing the final line drawing, just seeing it come to life even more, getting to add. I remember I struggled with this handle. Definitely struggled with this handle. But you know, when you're doing your character designs, like if you want to do a fan art piece like this, and you're okay, I really love this character from whatever movie or game, and I want to put them in a different pose, this process should 100% help you. As long as you understand your perspective, you should be absolutely fine with reposing. As long as you start off very simple, even more simple than what I did with the mannequins in this. Just use very simple, rough, scribbly shapes if you want to, but just use simple shapes to build up that underdrawing. I know that you'll see masters, and even I do it, you know, but you'll see professionals and masters who will do a really rough sketch. Like if you look at I forgot his name now, but I mean Karl Kopinski, right? So Karl Kopinski, if you look at, he does these really rough, scribbly pencil drawings, and then he goes in with a pen and inks it in, and it just comes to life, right? You can barely see it when it's in pencil. You can barely see it, you can barely understand it, and it's like just a scribbly drawing like some kid made. But then all of a sudden he just boom boom boom, he puts in the ink, and it just comes to life. And you have to build up to that kind of skill, being able to do a very rough sketch like that and understand all of the forms that you want and where everything goes, and then being able to ink it in straight away. It takes many years to get to that skill level. And you know, I would say, even though I can do that, I don't do it as often, but it is very freeing, and I definitely want to practice that Karl Kopinski method, let's just call it, just doing a very rough scribbly drawing and then building it out with ink or digitally. You know, build it out, and it's very freeing when you get to that level where you can just do a really rough sketch and then do a draw over, and it just comes to life and looks like such a clean line drawing. That's such a freedom. You feel like you finally made it, and that you have that freedom to make whatever you want. And I would say in the last year, I've really reached a level where I feel like I can work through any problem and bring any idea to life with the right amount of time, right? Because really, art is problem solving a lot of the time. And as a concept designer, you are problem solving all the time. That's literally your job. You know, a studio has a problem. The problem is they need a character design for this brief, right? This brief of this description of a character. But the problem is they need that description made visual. You come in and you solve that problem by reading the description and creating the character or the creature or the costume design or the prop or the spaceship, whatever it may be. And you know, there's a big argument within, or let's not call it an argument, but there's a big discussion within the world of concept art, right? Where do you specialize or do you generalize? I personally think it's a personal preference. It's true that the bigger studios prefer more specialists, but they do hire generalists as well, especially if you're freelancing. And if you're a freelancer, probably being more of a generalist may help you. I am more of a generalist because it's what I want to do. but don't force yourself to do something that you really don't want to do. As in, my least favorite thing to design is environment designs. And I've done a couple in the past, and I'll probably do more in the future for some personal projects that I have planned, some big personal projects. But it's not something that I'm super excited. I get really excited to do. Characters, creatures, and hard surface things like spaceships and tanks and vehicles and like weapons. That excites me. And you should do what excites you. If you are only excited to do characters, don't force yourself to do spaceships because I said you need to, right? Don't do that. It's just going to eat you up inside until there's nothing left. Focus on what you love to do. I have barely ever focused on environment design because I don't have a love for environment design. I love to look at environment design. I love to see people do environment designs. But for me to actually do them, I don't have a big love for it. And so just do what you really love to do and be happy, I guess. But as you can see here, I'm redoing that kneecap, that knee cover. Just wasn't happy with it. And I believe I may come back to it again because I'm still not happy with it. And there's always going to be those things in your designs that you're not 100% happy with. I don't think you should ever be 100% happy with what you made, because there's always going to be mistakes that you can see and improve upon. So in this, rewatching this now with you guys, I'm seeing mistakes and I'm like, okay, cool, noted. Mistake there, and mistake in the perspective, or mistake in the form, so on. Here I'm just finishing off the line work, and here we're getting into the color. So as you can see here, I'm just laying in the oh my god, my brain just died. I'm laying in the color, the flat colors. Not gonna go into any rendering really with this design, but I'm laying in the flat colors, and then I will decide where the light source is coming from. Obviously they're outside, right? So originally I went with gold, but you'll see I would change that because it was more just my brain not liking the realism of it. So as a soldier, maybe it's because of that I was in the army. I'm trying to make things, I want things to be believable more than realistic. Realistic is, it's all about believability. So I'm like, okay, these guys probably, if they're fighting Tyranid, let's say they're on the jungle world. So I decided to go with a green and maroon, right? As no, green and red are complementary colors. So it kind of works nicely together. But the gold kind of stood out to me as not very good for camo. Even if that, that doesn't really matter so much in Warhammer, to be honest, because it's just absolute hell everywhere. And it's like, does camo even matter? Probably not. Especially if you're fighting Tyranids, they can probably just smell you or just see you anyway. But yeah, the painting didn't take that long, to be honest. It's just knowing the colors that you want to put down, which I do change some later on. Like I said, with the gold, I turned it to silver. Just seemed nicer to me in the end. Just adding in final flat colors. But this process is super simple, okay? Now, maybe I shouldn't say it like that because, some of you may be quite new to drawing dynamically like this, and it may not be easy for you. I know that for me, even a year ago, this would have been a lot more of a struggle than it was this time. It's actually worked pretty well for me this time. I was pretty relaxed the entire time. Now, some advice for doing character design or any designs is obviously do lots of research, find your references. I didn't do this without references, by the way. Maybe should have mentioned that earlier on. I had plenty of references for this. And final thing is, it's think about it for a couple of days before you start drawing. I was thinking about this design for a bit longer than that, just because I have so many design ideas. I have a pure ref folder with just, right now I have 11 designs planned out with all the references, descriptions, and all that stuff. I'm kind of a bit of a maniac like that. The army made me into a bit of a maniac organizer. But here I'm just adding in some bits of the face. I actually think the face turned out pretty good. Pretty happy with that. I actually managed to find a Tau model that had a screaming face like that, so it was a great reference. And I almost forgot. I remember I finished recording the rough sketch, and I finished the recording, and I realized I didn't give the guy a ponytail. So he didn't have a ponytail, and I was like, oh crap, I forgot the hair on the Tau officer. So I added that in. You'll see I changed the color of the weapons as well. I decided, okay, maybe to make the weapons also same as the armor. But in the end, I do change that, as you probably saw from the final piece at the beginning. However, we are getting the battle damage is a lot of fun. I wasn't super happy with the battle damage in the colored part of it. Definitely something I want to work on a bit more. But if you really do enjoy this kind of content and seeing the designs come together, obviously this is a Tau Fire Warrior, but I have a lot of my own creature and character designs planned out and ready to make process videos of over the next coming weeks. So if this kind of content is something you really enjoy to see, you like hearing me explain how I'm bringing these things to life, and just as I'm explaining it, seeing it come to life, please do subscribe. Okay, it really helps the channel grow, makes me super motivated to actually make more videos like this, because these videos, some of you may think that, okay, you're just recording while you design, but it's that extra thing that you need to think of while you're designing, and then edit afterwards. So if you do enjoy this kind of content and you'll learn something new, please do subscribe, and comment down below how this helped you and how you're going to use this process in your next artwork, right? I really would like to see that and hear about how you're going to do that. And here you go, you can see that I changed the gold to silver, but I kept the, let's say, the katana or the sword of the officer. I kept that one gold. It makes it stand out a bit more. But here we're almost done with the flat color, and we're going to be moving into the shadow block out. Okay, once this leg is done. So what I do with shadows usually is, when I'm doing a design like this, I'll either use multiply or I'll just use a flat color. With this one, I decided to go with a flat color, just a darker version of the base color, and I did that on another layer. Here I'm just adding in the bone and flesh of the torn off leg of the poor Tau Fire Warrior. Let's hope he makes it. But he has that termagant kind of spike sticking out of his stomach as well, so might not make it. Here I'm just finishing off that leg, going back and tweaking some things here and there. As you can see, I changed the flat color there of the guns, right? So the plasma pistol, plasma rifle, I made black. I just think it looked nicer, it made it stand out nicer, especially with the pistol, because it was the same color as the armor. It kind of blended in, so I decided to go with a black and figure that out. And then I did change the color of the hooves. I decided to go with a brown, dark brown, instead of a black. And here you go. Here I just I added in the flat colors. Not sure what happened to the recording there, but I basically, the light is coming from, as you see, from the left, and I've got a little arrow up there that points, so I remember. And here I'm just adding in the shadow, and then I will add in the highlights basically. . 'Cause I would say that my weakest skill is rendering. It's something over the past week, I really put a lot of effort into doing some render studies, because I do want to improve at that a lot more. So here we're just gonna, here I'm just adding in some light, basically hitting the armor. Obviously it's matted, so it's not, except for the chest and like the silver pieces, it's not very reflective. You know, but it's always a way, but watching this back, you just see so many ways you could have improved upon it. But the important thing is not to feel bad about that, but to take it into the next design. Note down what the mistakes you made in this design, you know, note down what you could have done better, how you could have done better, and then remember and take that into your next design so you don't continue and you can improve that way. Analyzing your own designs. I think this one thing I love about doing this kind of content is I get to see my mistakes, you know, the things that I did wrong and things that I could improve upon. So again, I really hope that you enjoyed this process video, that you learned something new, and if you did, please do subscribe. Okay, I've got a lot more content coming, and here's the final piece. A lot more content coming. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you all the best. See you in the next video. Bye bye.